Alright, this is Big Boss of Foxhound Woodsball coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, and from my blog page over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. I'm also repping my friends over at Acid Tactical, so you can check them out over at acidtactical.com. Anyway, first video of the new year. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed the holiday going into the new year. With the weather the way it is, I know some of my viewers are probably freezing their asses off if you live anywhere above the Florida state line and into New England, Canada, and all those wonderful areas that are probably well below freezing right now. But I digress. This video we're going to be discussing cold weather gameplay, especially for those of us players who are going to be getting into cold weather gameplay at some point. Either we're doing this for scenario games, we're doing this for anything of like hunting. All you armed prepared citizen types may want to take note. Same with you airsoft guys. This is a general purpose video for those. However, I'm going to try and keep this more focused on tactical paintball players, considering that my channel is primarily a paintball channel. Now, before we get into all of this, we're going to have a quick little advertisement for my friends over at acidtactical.com. Now, remember, when the shit hits the fan and you gotta trust your gear with your life, ask yourself this one question. Can your gear survive the acid test? Well, anyway, we'll be back right after this. Cold weather and snow environments are some of the most exhilarating for paintball players. However, just because it's a winter wonderland and you're turning it into a hellscape for the opposition, that doesn't mean you're off the hook. With that being said, the cold weather is definitely something you gotta take into consideration. Doesn't matter if it's just for a couple hours out in the field or if you're doing a extended weekend out in a major scenario game. You need to plan accordingly. Everything from the right camo patterns right down to how you're going to set up for your games. And be forewarned, for those that want to be careless, the cold weather, the snow, it may be beautiful, but it's also deadly too. If you need a little allegory from history, think about Napoleon's march out of Russia, or Nazi Germany's Sixth Army at the Battle of Stalingrad. Okay, hopefully the little
introduction to cold weather gaming was enough to get you interested. Now, I could go on and talk about gear setups for this kind of thing. However, that's a very subjective thing, especially because what we're worried about for the cold is what we wear on our bodies. It's not just our gear, though that can play some part to it. Now, while I'm talking about what we're wearing, we're talking layering, regulating our body heat, because in the cold environments, you're going to have to do that because of how cold it gets. Sometimes it's, if you're, for an example, if you're in a stationary or a static position like an LPOP or foxhole, you're going to layer up, you're going to bundle up. But if you're going to be on the move and you got to be doing more physically strenuous activities, then you're going to shed those layers, because when even in a cold weather, you can fucking sweat. And if you're not able to have that breathability in your clothing to get that sweat and moisture away from your body, that'll become ice, and in the long run, that could be fatal. As a lifelong student of history, I've heard these stories. I've heard these stories from guys that fought in battles like Stalingrad, Leningrad on the Eastern Front, and the bitter cold weather of that particular part of World War II. I had a grandfather that fought in the Battle of the Bulge, and I've heard his stories about that battle in Belgium in 44 and 45. And I've also had family that fought in Korea, in places like the Yalu River and the Chosin Reservoir. So these stories of surviving the bitter cold, take them as the unvarnished truth, because these are coming from guys who've been there, done that, and have an understanding of what kind of hellscape the cold can really be. Now, with that being said, let's talk about regulating our body temperatures for these kind of environments. You want a good base layer to start off. First off, I got this long sleeve turtleneck. This is made by Under Armour. Now, for all of you guys that are just getting into this stuff, Under Armour has been a godsend for a lot of guys like me and plenty more. Originally designed for athletes, the military started using it by the time they went to Iraq in 03, but they had to change the composite of their materials because these things did not react well to high heat like flame, namely after IEDs. So keep that one in mind for all you guys that are doing more life and death things. For a paintball, airsoft, this shit is good enough. This thing could keep you warm in temperatures from 50 degrees below. Great base layer. This is something that you would want to have as your primary base layer. Next up would be a waffle top. Yes, this is long johns, thermal underwear. This would be your secondary layer over your moisture wicking layer. Would you want to wear this as a base layer? Absolutely fucking not. As I said, you want stuff that gets moisture away from your body when you sweat. This will soak it up, and if you don't get it someplace warm where you could change it out, it could kill you. So, as a base layer, no. As a secondary layer, yes. Then we go to your basic fleece pullover. You could get those military issue micro fleeces, though if you're operating on a budget, this one in particular I got from Old Navy or something similar to this, and it will work. These fleece pullovers are very nice, very comfortable, and because it is a pullover, you can get it on and off when you need to. Just make sure if you're doing a more dynamic event as far as your paintball and airsoft goes, you treat it like actual combat conditions. You always have a buddy covering you while you're either putting this on or taking it off, and vice versa. other than that, fleece is your best friend, and anything after fleece, like a wool, would be even better, especially because good wool will keep you warm whether wet or dry. So bear that in mind, and we'll be talking about head and hands.
Wool is one of those good materials. As you can see, GI issue woolly poly. This thing will keep you warm when wet, so this is definitely one of those things you should look into if you want to keep warm for the snow conditions and cold weather. Another good thing are these merino wool socks. Now believe me, nobody wants to lose their toes to frostbite, so just like anything else, change your socks when you need to, and you guys get the rest on that one.
Alright, let's talk about your head. Now, keeping your head warm is critical. For all you guys that elect to keep their head shaved, guys who are just bald to begin with, it is a common fact that most of your body heat will escape from your head. That's why you put little beanie caps on newborn babies after they're delivered. Next thing is going to be this tubular thing that you can get just about anywhere. These freaking neck gaiters, these multifaceted damn things that you can make into a balaclava, you can make into a do-rag, bandana. These things are one of those things that you should always have in your gear bag. And same goes with the beanie, especially for those of us who play in areas where the temperatures will drop exponentially, especially New England region when temperatures drop down into the 50s, or for all of us that are operating in more arid and desert environments, we all know that place goes from extreme hot in the day, almost extreme cold at night. So something that you keep in your shit all year round. So first off, let's talk about this damn thing, because I could turn this thing into a freaking do-rag because of its multifunctional bullshit. Now, right here, it's freaking do-rag. Trying to sing the balaclava, but as you can see, as a neck gaiter, this thing will help keep you warm, and as a little added piece of protection if you're not wearing any kind of neck protection in the field. And I know wearing this with the paintball mask in conjunction, this will make your lens fog up a little bit more, but if you don't have a good fan to help regulate that air or break up the fog or have your lenses treated, then that is going to be a little bit of a problem. Mix it with one of these beanie caps. Good to keep your head and ears warm, and just throw this underneath. As you can see, for all of you guys doing more covert actions, this will help, but it's also aimed to keep you nice and warm, so that way you don't get frostbite on your ears or your nose. So playing in the cold, definitely something you want to keep in your gear bag, keep on your vest, pocket, whatever. Your gloves, on the other hand, are also going to be a critical thing. Mittens, that depends upon how cold we're getting. Are we getting into like the heavy snow, like Alaska, permafrost deal? Then I would definitely recommend fucking mittens. But if we're playing in like 40s, 30s, then a good pair of gloves are going to be your best friend. These particular gloves I've had for years. The faux leathers come off the fingertips, but I still like these anyway because they give me great dexterity. And as you can see, when you're wearing something like this, you want to have dexterity in your hands, because when you're handling a gun, paintball, airsoft, or real steel, you want to be able to do a couple things. You want to be able to change your magazines, you want to be able to rack around into the chamber, cock the weapon. You get the idea, depending upon what kind of paintball gun you got, airsoft gun you got. And we all know for us real steel shooters, you want to be able to manipulate your magazine release, load it, unload it, all these things. Good pair of gloves will help you. So that's kind of a trial and error thing. So you can get the generic pair like what I'm wearing, or more specialized ones. But long story short, make sure you take care of your hands, because your hands are the most vital thing next to your head when working in the cold. Okay, now as you can see, I'm set up for what would be a game out in colder weather than what I normally play in. Now, with that being said, temperatures would be anywhere from the 50s down to the 30s. And because this is South Florida that I play in, my native environment does not snow, so I could wear something like my Woodlands, my Tiger Stripe all year round with this kind of setup. As you can see, put down the Mandarin collar on this jacket. As you can see, for my outer layer, I'm using my Woodland jacket as a camouflage. Though I could just wear the fleece pullover in lieu of the Woodland jacket, depending upon what I'm doing, or depending upon what time of the day it is. So if I'm doing a nighttime game in the cold, I could just use this and ditch the Woodland jacket because I'd have my vest on. But other than that, the real thing is this is going to be a demo with the gloves on. Now, as you can see, I can easily get my gun up. I can easily hold it in various ways. One thing with your gun, as I said, you gotta be able to do a few things. You gotta be able to manipulate your safeties. You gotta be able to switch your magazine. And it's even more true when it comes down to pistols. You gotta be able to get to your gun, your secondary, when you need to. Either push the button to release the lock on the holster, or manipulate the thumb brake. Get that out. You gotta be able to get your finger into that trigger guard. Same rules still apply. Work your safety. You gotta be able to drop your magazine. Now, trying to feel for it's a little weird sometimes, and you gotta be able to reload it when you need to. With a new set of gloves, you want to break them in. You want to be able to practice these. Practice switching your magazines. Practice getting it into your marker or your weapon as quickly as you can, as if you were playing any other day that wasn't freezing cold. With that being said, these are things that any player needs to learn. You want to break your shit in, and that is especially true for stuff you do not use that often throughout the year. And with that being said, we'll move on to another cold weather example.
Snow camouflage has an interesting history. Pictured here are American GIs during the Battle of the Bulge, and when Americans were fighting this particular battle, they didn't have the snow camouflage as we know it. They had to fashion it from sheets or anything white they can get their hands on, and that's, at least for the American side, how their snow camo came about. Fast forward to today, we've got a wide range of options, such as pictured in this one and this one here, a snow Marpat design developed specifically for the United States Marine Corps. However, there are just basic flat whites. There is this multicam Alpine here, which is also supposed to be pretty damn good. But then we've also got the outlier. Yes, Army UCPs, or Universal Camouflage Pattern, aka the ACUs. I know this is a very dubious one, but these things do have some merit for the snow, but let's move on.
Okay, now as you can see, swapped over from my more temperate weather to more of a snow-inspired camo look. Yes, I know these are Army ACUs. Yes, I know these kind of suck for forest, desert, and shit. They're okay for urban combat. Snow, on the other hand, they're not too bad. They're livable. Especially if you're talking sleet, a lot of cloud coverage. These could actually fucking work. So with that being said, I'm set up for snow/urban environments with my ACU setup. Now, if I didn't have a overwhite set to use, I'd be running this as I am right now. As you can see, I'm layered for this one as I got a civilian hoodie on underneath. But because I don't have overwhite, I'm using the BDU, the woodland, the ACU top as my camouflage. So with that being said, that's another thing. You're talking your camouflage, you want to be able to work with what you've got. I know black gloves, black beanie cap, they do contrast, but then again, this can also be a safety matter too if you need something that's high visibility, especially if you're playing in an area you are not familiar with. That's something that we're going to be covering later on in this video. But yeah, as you can see, full snow setup. You want to make sure that when you're bundled up, I know a lot of guys will tape their gear as far as like to keep the adjustments right there, but when it comes down to your snow, playing in the snow, you want to be able to have it adjustable. So if I had to shed layers, I can actually tighten this rig up to how tight I need it to be comfortable and to keep all my gear secure. But as you can also see, because of your kit loadout, as you guys know, you gotta adapt your shooting style to your kit. So this one, I can easily get it to my shoulder, swap my magazines, and the rest is right there. So with that being said, we'll be discussing another thing, your hydration.
Okay, we all know what this is. Standard issue, canteen, canteen up, and canteen cup stove, U.S. military. Now, if you're a paintball, airsoft player, you're going to need to keep hydrated. It doesn't matter whether it snows or not, but dehydration is definitely a bad thing, so you guys want to keep your water with you. And you could also, if you're looking for another alternative, you might want to look into British military issue like this one pictured here. It's got a wider mouth so you can't put ice cubes into it, but you can also put your knife into it to chip away at that frozen water. Another good alternative are these Algene bottles. Definitely a wider mouth, definitely good for survival situations, or if you need to carry more water, just make sure you get it in metal. Another good option is insulation for all you guys that like to carry your hydration bladders. Doesn't matter if it's a source hydration bladder or a Camelback. Make sure it's insulated. When you're in a stationary position or you're static for an extended period, it's always a natural inclination in the cold to bundle up. As pictured here, the good old-fashioned whoopee. Yes, USGI poncho liner. However, that's well and good for most cases, but when it's really cold or in the snowing, then you want to have one of those military issued sleep systems, but we don't these things are insanely expensive on the civilian market, military surplus, so I think all of us that have been camping before know what we need to get on this matter. But other options would be something like this tarp. You got a reflective side on one side, so that way you could insulate your body heat and have it reflect back on you. The other side is your rescue panel, so if you get lost, separated, this thing would be a godsend, so it pays to keep it in your gear. Other than that, we also got this waterproofing stuff. Keep in mind, playing in the snow is like playing in a giant slushy. You'll be cold and you'll be wet, so anything that needs to be waterproofed, waterproof it. And then finally, gun oil, gun lubricants, all the stuff that guys use on their real steel firearms for the cold weather. Theoretically, it will work for your paintball guns, so use it up.
Alright, that completes our rundown on cold weather gameplay. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to check out Outer Heaven Paintball on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, now X. And if you guys are looking for cool Outer Heaven Paintball merch, check out the Teespring shop. Links will be in the description to this video. And if you guys need good tack kit for your rifles, your molly gear, and any of your other shooting accessories, don't forget to check out my friends over at Acid Tactical, over at acidtactical.com. Again, links will be in the description to this video. Don't forget to check them out on Amazon, eBay, Etsy. Don't forget to check out their Teespring shop. And remember, when the shit hits the fan and you've got to trust your gear with your life, ask yourself this one question: can your gear survive the acid test? Well, anyway, this is Big Boss, and I'm out of here.